Thank you. And thank you all for welcoming me. We were trying to figure out beforehand, Ann and I, like, when did I first show up here? And it's kind of hard to keep track. I think it was 2015. I think it was 2015 was the very first time you all invited me into this community. And as you know, I feel like this is my church. You know, the world is my home. I have a bed in Atlanta, and I show up here once or twice a year, and I hang out with you all, and we do interesting things. So, you know, in the past couple years, I have a master's in social work, but I don't normally practice. But I will tell you that in recent months, in the past couple years, I have spent more time doing social work than in my entire career. And it's because it's a very disrupted landscape, right? There's all kinds of things. I know a lot of you. I've talked with a lot of you. I know it's a really challenging time. I've been walking a lot of people back from the brink these past few months, as a lot of my clientele have really been challenged by this. And yet, you know, the heart of unity is to keep coming back to the sweet spot, which is actually what I want to talk about today, about the sweet spot. And the way I want to start this is, if you were reading any of the material that comes out, and I never assume anybody reads anything, because I've been taught never assume people will read anything. And y'all are people, that's what we do, or don't do. So my lead word today is perfect, and that is an edgy word. The first time I read in Matthew, "Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect," I said to myself, those dudes don't know what they're talking about. But then I found an alternative interpretation, a different translation of the word perfect, and it blew me away. It comes courtesy of Alan Cohen, who some of you may know wrote a book called "The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore." And he said the proper translation of perfect in that context is to be well suited to a particular purpose. Not to be without flaw, not to have no foibles, not to screw things up, because we do, but to be well suited to a particular purpose. God is suited well to godness. Y'all are well suited to what you just did. I could see that. So it's a completely different idea. And then Cohen uses this great example that I love. Okay, show of hands. How many of you ever purchased a head of lettuce? How many of you ever picked up a head of lettuce that had 0 flaws, 0 blemishes, 0 brown spots, no misshapenness? Anybody ever found a perfect head of lettuce? You have. One person. Okay. And yet, the flaws, the blemishes, the stains, the raggedness does not for a moment diminish the quality of the nutrition. It's a perfect metaphor for us. So literally, like, be the lettuce, which will cause you to laugh, and you'll go like, oh, right. I'm not required to be without flaw, without blemish, without misshapenness. I'm required to find my sweet spot, that place where I bear much fruit, that place where I flourish, that place where people go, wow, I don't know what y'all are up to, but it was happening right here, right? We saw it, we felt it, we experienced it. So it's this completely different way of thinking about ourselves. It turns the whole idea of sin on its head, right? The sin then, you all know this, to miss the mark, means we're not fulfilling our optimal purpose. Nothing more than that. Maybe because we don't know our optimal purpose, maybe because we can't find it, maybe because we got lost along the way. That's all just fine. The point is to find that optimal purpose, that optimal demonstration, which, by the way, for those of you who knows the Enneagram, you know that the Enneagram's goal is not to say be different, not to fulfill someone else's purpose, but to be the best version of you possible. So not long ago, I was talking with Pastor Felisa Crockett, who's in Toledo, and she was sharing with me that they're doing this Bible study, and what they're doing is they're looking at spiritual gifts. And their frame of reference for this particular work is that everybody gets them. Everybody gets spiritual gifts. Everybody gets spiritual gifts. Now, if you want to go secular for a moment, anybody here done the StrengthsFinder work? Some of you have. There's a framework called StrengthsFinder. It's a way of looking at our talents and aptitudes. So it turns out in the secular world, they've found the same thing that the scriptural world has identified. We have sweet spots. All of us have sweet spots. Let me tell you what I mean by that. My favorite story with this came about 2 years ago. was talking to a friend. She was very concerned about her son, Reggie. Reggie has Asperger's, which means he's on the autism spectrum. And he was slow to get through school, had a lot of difficulties, a lot of ways. Cool kid, cool kid. But he was just having a hard time navigating. Well, he finally graduated at the age of 31, which was like a remarkable thing. And then we found something out. You see, Reggie is obsessed with bones and musculature and the structure of bodies. It turns out that coroners' offices actually recruit people who have that kind of focus. Coroners' offices look for people who love bones, love ligaments, love the ability to figure this stuff out. And I know you're thinking, but coroners' offices, I know. But do you know what happened to Reggie? Reggie is thriving. Their whole orientation program is for kids like Reggie, who have a particular mindset, a particular orientation. They're really, really good at it. And then here's a kicker, which is a strange spin. It turns out because of the way people on the spectrum sometimes experience emotions, they can be with stuff that you and I can't be with. That is remarkable, that there's a place for someone who we might otherwise say, well, they're on the spectrum. You know how that goes, right? Poor kid. Well, it turns out he's not only he's found a place, but he's thriving. He's blossoming. He's having an experience, not without a little bit of support. So I want to bring that to home now. And I asked Richard if I could share this. Now I'm going to surprise you. You didn't know how much I love you for this. Do you all remember where Richard was during the pandemic? You all remember? I saw the videos. Richard has a gift for music. Yes? Richard also has a talent for caring about others. They're a little different. The one is the gift. It was born. You seem to have come with it. He also has this incredible capacity for caring for others. So I saw the videos of Richard out in the middle of a giant apartment complex playing and, I'm going to cry, playing and singing to all those people who were hunkered down because they couldn't go out. Now, does that mean Richard can do anything? No. It means that Richard is very well suited to music, to caring about people, and you found a perfect demonstration of it. And I remember watching the videos. I remember watching the people beaming. And the pandemic was a difficult time, like some of the difficult times we're having now. Now, I'm not saying you should be like Richard. I'm saying you need to find your sweet spot because you have one. Somewhere deep down inside you, you were either gifted with a spiritual gift or you were born or nurtured into talents, capabilities, or maybe both. And what the research shows, because I'm a little bit of a geek, what the research shows is you will know you're in your sweet spot when you are happy, productive, people are receiving the gifts of your experience, and you just want to do more. That's how you will know. Interestingly enough, how you will know if you're not in your sweet spot is you will not be happy, you will not be productive, you may become a crank, right? Here's the devastating data. The entire world is designed around thinking there's something wrong with us. It's reflected in every human relation system everywhere. When there's a problem in the workplace, the assumption is there is something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. It turns out what the data tells us, 9 out of 10 people who aren't doing well, they're just in the wrong place. They're just in the wrong place. They're not in their sweet spot. They haven't found it. They don't know what it is. They've been hired into the wrong job, whatever. And so the moral to the story is, let's stop thinking it means there's something wrong. Let's look at what's right, which is the title of today's workshop. Let's talk about what's right. Our culture spends an inordinate amount of time talking about what's wrong. Most of us have been deeply convinced there's a lot wrong with us. We've been told that in countless ways from people who love us and not so much love us. So it's a heretical idea. Here's what's heretical about it. What's heretical is stop focusing on your deficiencies and find the ground, the soil within which you need to be planted so you will bear fruit. And if it's not here, go find it somewhere else, because it's out there somewhere. The work I do with human development, we have found the most amazing things. There was a woman I was working with who was, I would find out later, she was not doing well at all. She was actually on antidepressants and struggling. And she thought there was something profoundly wrong with her. Well, we found her some new soil. Last time I saw her, she's been in that new place for 10 years, and she's happy, and she's thriving, and she came off antidepressants. I'm not recommending, I'm not a doctor. I will tell you that's what we call an N of one. I have one person who showed that their depression was situational. And we put them in the right soil, things fell into place. So this is like radical stuff for us. That means anywhere in your life that you're struggling, and we struggle, the question is not what's wrong with you. The question is, where's the right soil for me? Another funny story. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, a lot of red clay soil. I was walking one day in my neighborhood, and I found a cactus garden, a big cactus garden. And the fact that anybody in Georgia would think to grow a cactus garden was kind of crazy in the first place, but I thought it was wonderful. But what I saw after years of living in the desert Southwest was the cactus weren't doing that well. Now, the fact that they were alive meant they had completely reformulated the soil, taken the clay out, put in rocks, put in gravel, sand, all that stuff, and still the cactus weren't doing well. The humidity's too high. So here's what I know. If you could airlift those cactus exactly like they are, right out of Georgia, put them on a Huey helicopter, take them all the way to central New Mexico, drop them in a hole in the ground, within 2 years they would be blossoming. And they're the exact same cactus. All we've done is put them in the right soil, which is your story, although I realize I probably shouldn't compare any of you all to cacti. So maybe we're kind of prickly, we're in the wrong soil. Maybe that's true. So it's a radical idea to find out what's right, find out a way to get people where it's right, and then support them there. Which means lots of times we have to look at our circumstances differently. And the hardest part in the world for all of us, if you've been convinced there's something profoundly wrong with you, for whatever reason, that's some substantial spiritual surgery that's going to be required. It is hard to come out from under an imprint that we have deeply internalized. One more example of this. I was doing some work with a woman who is the most remarkable, she can be 80 years old next month. Most remarkable 80-year-old I've ever wondered. And she was struggling with a number of things. And what we learned was that as a child, because you all know about childhood trauma, right? Yep. She had dad who was alcoholic, a mom who had mental health issues. She, at the age of 5, was caring for her younger brother and younger sister. And she became, in her words, duty-bound. It defined her life, being duty-bound. And she was suffering because, whether you know it or not, there's a whole lot of stuff to be duty-bound to. And it just wasn't working for her. She did some psychic surgery. She did a whole bunch of work therapeutically, did a whole bunch of work spiritually. And what happened is she hit a reset place, and the suffering stopped. The suffering stopped. Because her soil problem was what she was bringing with her to the soil. Her deepest ideation of herself. But it turns out when we do these things, if we transport you to different soil, if we find a better place for you, if we help you better understand who you are, where you are spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, if we do a little bit of psychic surgery, which is, of course, the Holy Spirit's space, not our space, then the promise is that every single one of us is positioned to thrive and to bear fruit richly. It's a spiritual, biblical promise. And all you need to know is if it's not happening for you, we just need to take a look at where you're planted. It's all we need to do. Because there's a 90% probability it's not you, It's the circumstances you find yourself in, which is the most uplifting spiritual message I have stumbled across in many, many years. Completely transforms the way we view it. So what that means in this present difficult environment, we have a lot of divisiveness in the world. If you have strong harmony and relational talents, go bring harmony to where the divisiveness is happening. If you have the gift of upliftment, find places and circumstances where people need to be uplifted and do your thing. That's the assignment. The assignment is not to lay low and hope the storm passes. The assignment is to take our gifts, our talents, those magical things we've been given, and find a way to put them to use. So here's what the data also tells us. The data also says that if we do these things developmentally, our best decade will be our 60s, our second best decade will be our 70s. A lifetime of growing into bearing fruit produces fruit, contrary to popular opinion that every 10th birthday you have black balloons brought out and it's the end of your life, right? We know that, right? Every 10 years they tell you you're done, it's over, Black Friday, whatever. Turns out it's not true. The flourishing is ahead of us, not behind us. That is a remarkable thing that we would never guess from the way we talk about this. So if you're really thinking outside the box here, what you were probably thinking about, as I am, is the St. Francis prayer, which almost everybody has been exposed to. How does it start? Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. And then it goes through the whole list of all the problems in the world and does a reset on them. So that's what I'd like to take into meditation with you. What would it be for you to become that channel? What would it take for you to become that channel where you flourish, the world benefits from it, things just work? It may require changes in your life, but as we go into a little bit of stillness now, what I'd like you to do is close your eyes. Think of a place and a time when it was just your happy place. Try to feel it in your body. See if you can find that sweet spot in your body. You may want to breathe to see if you can find it. If you can find that sweet spot, that uplifted place in your body, breathe into it. If you can't find it, pick a spot just above your heart and breathe into that. See if you can enlarge that feeling of upliftment. If you're having trouble locating a sweet spot, see if you can conjure a memory that causes you to grin with reckless abandon and feel that. If you can find it and feel it, breathe into it. See if you can feel what's right deep down inside you. See now if you can hold on to that feeling. Register it deeply. Try and hold on to that feeling. One of my spiritual teachers said, if you can remember that feeling, you can always follow it to your sweet spot. And just a reminder, you all have sweet spots. Your task is to find them and fulfill them. Lord, make me a channel for thy peace. Namaste.